After doing a couple jobs, I realized that an automation is no good if it's not built to work with a good process. You have to have a good business process for the automation to be effective.
Patrick Flanagan is the founder of Univium, a company helping entrepreneurs win back their time by turning messy manual work into effortless automation. His mission is to prove that automation isn't just for big corporations. It is the edge that small businesses can use to help scale smarter and faster. Welcome back to another episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. My name is Chris Kiefer, and today I am joined by Patrick Flanagan, the owner of Univium, which is an automation agency. And he is also a fellow YouTuber that is publishing content and just teaching people how to get more out of this wonderful world of technology that we all are exposed to every day. And I stumbled across Patrick's channel when I was looking for creating a custom Airtable extension to put into an interface. For those of you that are nerds out there that know what I just said, you'll know why that's so cool. But for those of you that aren't, Patrick's just another automation ninja that likes to do the same thing that I like to do. So Patrick, thank you so much for coming on today and chatting about automation.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
I posted like my first ever YouTube video like 10 years ago about some dumb thing, but it was about 2.5 years ago that I like got serious and was like, I'm going to like go aggressively and try to create content. Not more on my focus was just like, I'm going to post a video every day on how to do something for a painting business. And so I was targeting painting and automation, and I now have like 350 or I don't know, somewhere between 350 and 400 videos. I actually have not published regularly in like 9 months because we've just been so overloaded in the painting world and trying to stabilize and create like a repeatable process to like package and sell for painters. I still post occasionally, but I went through this period of like aggressive, like for 9 months straight, I posted a video every single day to just like get in the habit of creating content and publishing. Just like it's a muscle that you have to exercise.
Love it.
I'm curious from your perspective, if you could give me like, how did you get to the idea of like, I should post content on YouTube? And then how long did it take you from deciding that would be a viable option to actually doing it? And what's your process in publishing and all that?
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. I would say I started thinking about posting on YouTube when I was starting to think about starting my own business. I've been doing automation for 8+ years, but it was sometime last year, I decided I'm going to start my own business. And while planning for that and looking at my target audience, I saw YouTube as one of the primary ways to provide value to my potential target audience. And so I honestly never really wanted to just be on YouTube to be on YouTube. I've decided to do it so I could provide value. So the first video I made sometime last year took me all day. I kept doing retakes, was a whole thing. But then I finally got into a good process of it. And I'd say I try to focus on quick and actionable things that small business owners can implement in their own business. Kind of like the custom extension video you came across. That one's a bit more advanced, but things like that can kind of just make a quick difference is what I focused on initially. Since kind of developing my business and what services we offer and getting into process optimization consulting, I'm starting to do a lot more segments where I talk about how to structure different aspects of your business and whatnot so that it works better with automation. My process consists of, and I definitely relate, it is hard to post consistently. There's a lot of prep work and whatnot, but I try to do a video a week now with my own podcast, Return on Automation. And then I try and still do a video like every other Wednesday where I kind of show some specific technical thing you can implement in your business.
It looks like your most popular is building a web app in minutes on Google Apps Script. That's cool.
Yeah.
What is you're thinking about it in terms of like the small business owner, like quick wins that they can get? That's how you're brainstorming topics.
Yeah, that's how I'm brainstorming topics. And so, of course, I have my own clients that I'm building automations for, and they ask me to build all sorts of crazy stuff. So every day is just constant experimentation, learning, development, building new things that no one else has built before. on the internet. And so as soon as I come across something and I'm like, oh, wow, that had like a really significant impact on this person's business, as long as I hadn't signed an NDA to build it, I'll go and I'll make a video and I'll post it on my YouTube channel, is what I do.
What I'm curious, YouTubers have you tried to copy or model? And I'll tell you the ones that there's one guy in particular I'm curious if he is in your radar as well.
Yeah, no, there's so one that I'm kind of trying to model a little bit now is there's Layla with process driven is one big one. And then, I had some others, but I haven't thought about it in a minute because I kind of gotten my own just,
Pattern.
yeah, pattern of getting stuff to work. I will say I talk to a lot of people on Reddit to kind of like not self promote, but if I see an opportunity to say, hey, I have a video that'll help you with this issue, that kind of gets me a lot of people on. But Layla with process driven, she does process optimization consulting and that sort of thing.
Gareth Pronovost is with Gap Consulting, and then also Dan Lehman are two people that they're both Airtable. They started largely Airtable, but no code agencies in general. Gareth was really
Mm-hmm.
like started with Airtable. But anyways, the reason I bring that up is because it's I have told many people like if I'm talking to a high school kid that's like I don't know what to do, like it's so obvious to me right now, and you probably can experience this as well. If you just sit down on the computer and you start every day, just figure out how to do something that you didn't know how to do before that automates some sort of process, and then make a video and post it. And then the next day, figure out how to do something and post it. And the next day, do the same thing. And just for like, obviously, I went to college, I learned a lot of stuff in college, but like the pace at which you can learn and then publicly put yourself out there on YouTube where it's going to exist forever is mind boggling to me. And that's why I'm like, I had
Mm-hmm.
a friend that was like, "Oh, why are you like talking or like like collaborating with other people that are doing the same thing as you?" And I'm like, "Because there's so much freaking work that there's no possible way that you could it's impossible for me a way to give away too much information. And the more information
Yeah.
that you put out there, like the way I don't know if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk or
Mm-hmm.
know of
I
him.
do.
That was the thing for me. I had heard him 10 years ago basically say that the secret sauce concept is like not here anymore. So if you have like some secret process or thing that you think that you do that nobody else knows, you're lying to yourself, and it's only a matter of time before somebody else publishes a video on how to do that thing. So it might as well be
Exactly.
you, and you might as well get credit for the idea that you have now, and then just put it out there. And if it is valuable, people will watch it and use it. And a small percentage of those people will say, you know what, this looks a little too complicated. Could you just do this for me? Or maybe like, I
Mm-hmm.
totally understand how to do it. I'm busy. I'll just pay you to do it because I got some other big fish to
I get a
fry.
lot.
Yeah. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I feel like is the thing that's so exciting to me about YouTube is that it's one of these rare opportunities that you can take time and you invest 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is, into one video, and then it's online for free forever for someone
Right.
to stumble across 2 years from now and then be like, I saw this video. And like the number of times that I get people that reach out that watched, and my content is like incredibly niche towards it's what you're doing, but like how can a
Towards
painting business
painters, right?
owner do
Yeah.
this? Yeah. And that's another thing that is mind-boggling to me. I thought I was going to do that for like a couple of months and then I would run out of topics, but it's like it's turned out
No.
that there's just an infinite well even in just painting to that people are really focused on. And now we have like a brand that we're developing in the painting world, and there's all these painting conferences to go to, and that I'm speaking at some of these conferences, but it's the most niche. Like if you're not a painter, you never would see a video of mine. It's
Yeah.
impossible. But
Yeah.
if you are, you're like, oh my gosh, there's a guy that literally is automating my business, and it's incredible.
Yeah. I saw your video. I didn't get to finish it, but I think you were doing estimates with the Apple Vision Pro. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
gonna go back. I started watching it right before this, and it was really neat. But yeah.
And that's the type of thing is that exactly it. There's so many things that people are curious about. And if you can find a little like niche that no one is addressing, there was a fear that I had of like going too deep in one particular thing. And it was the
Hmm.
hardest thing to turn away, like an HVAC company or someone else
Yeah.
that's like pretty close. Like I could help you, but I did. And then I doubled down on painting. And then it's over the last 2 years, it's been absolutely insane.
Yeah. And I know whenever I started too, I first video I made, I was trying to think of ideas and I couldn't think of anything. And if I had writer's block, now I have like a whole list of content that I want to put out there to the world and all of that. So I think that's great. I love it.
Walk me through, you mentioned your goal of unifying like the business owner's vision with the process. I can't remember exactly how you said that. What is like your purpose or the vision for your company? And then what are like the key principles that you've kind of distilled out after helping so many business owners that it's like, this is really how I think about any process that someone were to ask me about?
Absolutely. My company, Univium, is a play on words between unity and vision. And so what I try and do is I try and help unify the business owner with the vision for their company. And so I really enjoy working with clients that actually have a strong vision for their company. They just are maybe stuck on the steps to kind of reach that vision. And so what I do is I'll go in, and one of the things I focus on is what makes them or their business different than everyone else? What's the one thing they're doing that no one else is doing? What makes them unique? And I will have that conversation with them and I'll say, okay, great. Let's automate everything else so you can focus just on that. I'd say my purpose and passion is allowing people to buy back their time so that they can focus on doing the one or two things that they are extraordinary at. That's what I would
Mm.
say.
Buy
Yeah,
back their time. Are you a Dan Martell fan?
absolutely. That was actually, you mentioned book recommendations. That might be one on my list.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met Dan in a business group that I
Oh,
was in Coeur d'Alene 2 years ago, and have been. It was right like a couple of months after he released his "Buy Back Your Time" book, and literally in the last two
amazing.
years, it's just he is blown up, eh, like crazy compared, like
Yeah.
probably 100x to what he was 2 years ago. And then I did Dan
Love
Martell's
it.
fitness and like diet program that he had.
I didn't know he
Anyways,
had one.
I love Dan. He's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was after I read his book, that's what kind of gave me some of the tools I needed. So now it's whenever I first started, it was just me. Now I have a team of two developers and assistant. And so it was his book that kind of helped me scale up a little bit and do all that.
That's
Great
awesome.
content.
So
Hmm.
walk me through from a business owner's when someone comes to you to ask like, hey, I need this process done. You mentioned at the beginning of this that you think about structuring either the business or the process in a way that makes it more like capable of automating. Do you have any
Hmm.
principles or frameworks that you use to think about that stuff?
Absolutely. And I can kind of walk you through my process too. I'll say one of the things when I first started my business, I started it because I really like coding, programming, and automating to buy back my time and whatnot. But after doing a couple jobs, I realized that an automation is no good if it's not built to work with a good process. You have to have a good business process for the automation to be effective. So, kind of to walk you through what I'll do with a new client is I'll set up a consultation call with them and I'll walk through, okay, tell me about your business, teach me as much as you can about your business, walk me through all of your processes, and we'll probably sometimes we just pick one process to focus on and we'll go through that and we'll look at, okay, what's everything you're doing manually, of what can we automate, and then we kind of prioritize of what should we automate, and then we kind of build an action plan list to go through and automate. Um, but in terms of process optimization and having a good process, I'd say number one of the most common things that I think happens is someone will come to me and they'll ask me to automate something that if they had a good process in place doesn't really need to be automated. A lot of what I do, not a lot of what I do, but it's relatively often someone comes to me and I end up just teaching them how to use a tool that they already have. They have a CRM and I'll just teach them how to use that effectively, or I'll teach them how to use it can sound basic, but teaching them how to use Google Sheets effectively with a team and training the team and all of that is a big part of getting everything to operate efficiently. Then once things are operating more efficiently, they're using tools how they're supposed to use them. Then I'll go in and I'll say, okay, let's automate this next step here, and kind of go from there. And one thing, this is going to also come off my book recommendation list, is the Checklist Manifesto was a book that kind of changed my viewpoint on process optimization. And that is when you're building out a process, it's easy to build like some complex workflow with all these different branches and if then decisions. When you're building out a process, I highly recommend keep it simple. If you can put it in a checklist and like it's actionable, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can follow it relatively simply, then it's a good process. If it's more complex than that, then you start to kind of skew into, okay, maybe you're going to kind of lose control here or there. So that's kind of the first step. Then the whole technical automation thing is a whole nother aspect of it.
Yeah, I
So
like it's true that if you can't instruct like where to click, and if you haven't thought
mm-hmm.
about it in that detail, it's going to there it's really hard to tell a computer to do something, right? And AI
Mm-hmm.
is enabling, I feel like that's actually what's happened in the last 2 to 3 years with AI is that automation has always been possible. Like what we're doing today, you and I, is the exact same thing that businesses were doing in 2000 or even before when
Mm-hmm.
computers first came out. It's just, it
Yeah.
took a lot of work to take some process and turn it into literally click by click instructions. And now there's tools like with Zapier and all the no code builders, Airtable,
Mm-hmm.
and then ChatGPT, Gemini, any of those things. And then you bring in like MCP servers and give them access, give the AI access to your tools. It's like all it's doing is just accelerating and making it more possible to automate things that we've wanted to automate all along. And most of which probably were possible to automate all along. It just was so cost prohibitive to do it. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's like it takes a fraction of the time to build out the same thing.
Absolutely. No, and that's one of the reasons why I started my business when I did is AI was, but before this I worked in a, it was a reporting analyst role where I did a lot of process optimization for a different company. But I decided to start my business because of where AI was going. And I was like, oh, okay, this is about to get a lot more affordable for small businesses. There's a whole market of businesses that are going to need AI and automation implemented in their business. They couldn't afford it before, and now they can. And I was like, okay, now's the time. And yeah, absolutely.
What is the I like to put things I've automated into like well there's a couple different buckets, but two of the fun ones are like the most valuable thing that I you figured out how to automate, which I will define in a second, versus like the craziest thing that you were able to automate. And the reason that those are likely different is because it's crazy to me that a lot of times the most valuable thing to automate is something that's stupid simple, that's not surprising at all, but it gets used 100 times a day. So from a time perspective of whoever was doing that task, it's incredibly valuable because you've saved a bunch of time. Whereas there's other ones where came up with some way to ingest this, like scrape the web for this really specific thing, and then it turns it into a
Mm-hmm.
PDF and or like whatever the process is. There's like that's I didn't even know it was possible, or like call my bank and cancel an account or something. You know what I mean? Or you're
Mm-hmm.
what are those two the most valuable based on like the business result or value versus just like I did not know this was possible and I figured out how to do blank.
Got it. No, that's a good one. It's funny because it's almost possible that the most valuable automation I did was almost the simplest. Is I had someone with a Google Sheets, they were managing all their receivables in Google Sheets, and they had, a lot of outstanding bills that they just hadn't collected because I don't know who messed with their data before I came along, but someone had messed up their data. So I went in there and I cleaned up their data, and then I built an automation with Text Magic to send out text notifications to all their clients with a Stripe link saying, "Hey, you owe a bill. Press this button and pay it." They were a contractor, and so a lot of their clients, they worked with construction companies, were kind of like on the road, on the go, weren't really in the office, so sending an email wasn't as effective. So we sent them text messages with Stripe links. They could click, pay, and were able to collect a lot of money that had just been outstanding for a good amount of time. So that'd be the most valuable, I'd say, if you were to look at it from a value perspective. There's two that are crazy. One I'm working on now, but I have an NDA, so I can't talk too much about it, but I would love to. That's how crazy it is. The other one, I would say, it wasn't that I didn't know it was possible. It was just a lot of fun to build. Is I had a automation that would monitor these Google Chat spaces for a client and look at conversations between their employees. This was like a call center. They had over 100 employees and like what 20 30 different clients, so 20 30 different spaces. Just analyze the chats, and when someone like said something, the AI would determine whether or not that was like an issue that a customer support ticket needed to be created for, and that way people could follow up on it. But the AI would also analyze the chat messages, and if someone responded to a message saying, "Oh, I took care of that," it would automatically close out the support ticket. It would only create and leave open support tickets for messages that people sent that were never resolved. You could do the same thing with Slack too. I'm thinking about doing it for another client, but it was surprisingly effective with how many like actual problems they were able to catch and resolve with their customer support specialist team, and they were able to kind of upsell their clients on let's get these additional issues taken care of and that sort of thing. Those would be my two. Yeah.
Want to talk about that Stripe one. I just had someone ask on Wednesday, is it possible with Stripe, because I haven't used Stripe a lot, to have, when you're generating those payment links, to have them be predefined or preset amounts that they're paying, like based on the spreadsheet that says they owe $573.13, that the Stripe link that gets sent, are you essentially generating an invoice in Stripe that is like
Yes.
branded with your logo so it looks professional, and they're like, oh yeah, I did have that thing, versus just getting a random link, I'm assuming, that's like, hey, pay some money to this link?
No, it's like a specific invoice looking. It's been a couple months since I worked on it, but it's like a specific kind of like an invoice type of document where it's a specific amount and you can kind of track it and it goes to just that specific person.
And then but the amount it's preset, so they're just paying the bill, not
Correct.
deciding how much to pay.
Correct. Yeah, so you don't have to say like, please enter this amount, and then they enter an extra zero and they get it wrong, and then it's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
No, you have it preset. Definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, what else are you excited about, or what's the like how you mentioned like Replit and Lovable and stuff like that? Have you dove into those, and are there what elements of that are like piquing your interest right now?
So I'd say what originally got me interested in automation, I think like 8 years ago, was I had started developing custom web apps. I just taught myself. I'm a finance and economics major, so self-taught full stack developer. And the speed at which you can build fully functional web apps now is absolutely amazing. I think like in the past month, I've built one, two, three, four, five fully functional web apps that one of them I've connected to Stripe and I'm going to try and sell as a SaaS, but the others are just kind of for my internal team purposes. And it's just amazing the speed at which you can do it. I think it's important because a lot of what I do is I help clients automate around tools that they already use. But now the tools that they're going to have access to is going to broaden exponentially because you're going to have many, many, many more people creating many, many more apps. And it's just going to be a lot more available. And so I'm paying close attention to it because I think it's just going to change the landscape of what tools people use and how people automate with it. So, yeah.
There's a name of a principle that I'm spacing on, but it's the idea of when something becomes cheaper, or the example that was given was cars when they first were invented were massively inefficient with their fuel consumption and mileage, or their miles per gallon. And
Mm-hmm.
so there was like a big step change, and I don't remember what year it was, where cars were all of a sudden you could go 3 times or 4 times the distance on a gallon of gas that you used to be able to. And
Yeah.
there were some people that were like, oh, we're going to need so much less fuel now because the cost of it, of like how far we can go, is now so much greater that they're like, we're just the cost, like fuel is not going to be nearly as, the volume of like production for oil refineries is going to go down. And what
Yeah,
ended up
yeah,
happening was it like skyrocketed because now all of a sudden I can get places at a much more affordable cost. So the market, like you're saying, when you lower the cost of something, it doesn't decrease the demand. It makes it, increases it greatly, because now
hmm
you have all these people that were like, oh, I couldn't afford a car before, or maybe I could buy the car but I couldn't afford to go anywhere because it was so expensive. And now that I
hmm
can afford to go places, now I want to get a car for me, I want to give a car for my wife, I want to get a car for my kids. And it's just like
yeah,
all of a sudden everybody has cars, everybody's driving, and we need 10 times more fuel than we had needed before, even though the fuel efficiency was increased. You know what I mean? So
hmm
it's the same exact thing I think here, is that when it becomes easier and easier to make apps, it doesn't mean like, oh, we're just going to need less developers. I think it's the exact
yeah,
opposite. It's like, oh, we're going to need a lot more developers. And also
yeah,
what we define as a developer is going to change, because
yes.
it's not as like code heavy as it was, but we're going to need far, far more developers than we did 5 years ago.
Yeah, citizen development is, I think that's what it's called. Is there's going to be a lot more citizen developers where they're not technical, no coding background, but can build and create, which I think is good because that means more ideas are going to be able to come to fruition. So I'm excited for it. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Anything else that you came to today wanting to share, that, or that you're excited about, or you think people should know about?
I would say just that Univium is expanding its team and we're increasing our capacity, and so we're ready to take on any more additional work for anyone looking to automate part of their business. I'd say is most of what I have going on right now. We're just kind of in the weeds every day, building out new stuff.
That's awesome. I am curious, what do you do, or what is, this is something that we've struggled with and gone back and forth between a number of different processes. When you build an app for someone, what does the ongoing maintenance or support for that thing look like? Do they make their own Lovable account and you just log in and make it and then give it to them? Or do you have hosting contracts, or they just reach out to you in the future and you bill them hourly? How do you manage that?
So I have everyone set up their systems on their own accounts. I will actually have like a library of SOP documents for my clients to show them, here's how you set up your own Lovable account and add me as a developer, or here's how you set up your own, whenever we need GitHub, your own GitHub account. Here's how you get your open AI API key. Here's how you set up your own Airtable base and share it with us. I have them set up their own systems, and most of the time they have someone on their team that's pretty good at that, but sometimes I have to walk them through it. And then at that point they're paying the hosting cost and all that. I always tell them, this is how much you can expect to pay per month for these items and whatnot. And then in terms of like maintenance and monitoring, I currently have a retainer agreement where I kind of just monitor. For some people, I have a retainer agreement where they have like a lot of automations where I monitor it and I just go in, and because things break, the apps that they're working with change their API documentation, breaks it, we have to go correct it, right? Retainer, or if it's something smaller and they only need like help sporadically, I also have like an hourly agreement where they just call me up and we hop in and fix stuff as needed or make adjustments, which we have a lot of adjustments that people are making because they're always growing, changing strategy, and doing lots of neat stuff.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah. We've, in the painting, because we're just in the painting world, we've just really been on, like, basically it's a subscription to an automated business, and the whole business is what we're
okay.
automating. Um, and then they pay, they're subscribing to that. But there's also, people have requested like, hey, can you just build it and give it to me? And we've tried that, but it's like,
No.
it just get like, inevitably something, you're going to need something. And
You,
like, who are you going to call, especially if this is a business critical function now? You don't have time to go
mm-hmm.
like screen a bunch of people on Upwork or scour YouTube for
Yeah.
someone that then has 3 weeks of backlog to get it fixed for you. And just like the reality is that there needs to, at least for us, I love the idea of being able to like hand off clients and then just come back to me when you need something. But there's this tension between you make something and it's awesome and it's working, and they don't really need you until they really need you. And then now it's a problem. How do you do that?
Absolutely. And I've had the same problem early on. As I think early on, I was hoping that I could just build it and pass it off. But all of my clients are long-term clients. I've been working with them, some of them since the first or second month I started my business. And what I tell people now, whenever I'm doing my discovery call, is like, look, this is kind of going to be a long-term relationship. You're going to be working with me and we're going to be developing it. We still document all of our work really heavily, and we make sure we keep everything on their system. So if they ever wanted to cut ties for whatever reason, they have their freedom. But I let them know that, hey, what you're doing essentially with us is, instead of hiring 10, 20 extra people, you're hiring a development team to automate everything, so you don't have to do that. It's kind of what I explained, but it's not like you don't have to work with us. It's definitely a relationship that we have to build with our clients.
Totally. All right. Let's move into some wrap up questions.
Sure
Three
thing.
book recommendations.
3 book recommendations. I might have already did some of these. Come Up for Air by Nick Sonnenberg is a really good one. Talks about how to set up your business systems and whatnot. High Output Management is another one I started reading recently, which was surprisingly a lot more strategic than I thought about managing your business operations. And so that's something that's helped me a lot with process optimization. And then Checklist Manifesto was going to be my third one, but I already mentioned that. A new one I'm reading is Thinking in Systems, but I just started it. So that one's to be determined how it turns out, but it's about how to think about systems, not processes, but systems. They're different. So it's
What
interesting.
is tell me, break that down. What's the difference between a system and a process?
So, and again, I'm still getting started on it, so I'm kind of learning from my perspective, as far as I understand it, is process is something you write down and it's very intentional, but a system is something that kind of naturally occurs. And so systems occur maybe in tandem with the process, but systems are more naturally occurring. And so kind of like I'm trying to think of how to describe it. But like when people say like, oh, it's just always been done that way, and it's not like a written documented process, that I would consider that more of a system. Yeah.
I'll have to Thinking in Systems. I feel like I've heard that's not a new book, is it?
I think it's I don't know how old it is, but it
But
has
it's not like it came out in the
a
last
lot of good
year, because I
reviews.
feel like I've heard that
Yeah.
title, but I haven't read it. Awesome. And then movie recommendation.
Movie recommendation. I always go back to the same one. This is just my favorite movie is Interstellar. Interstellar. Christopher Nolan. Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
great movie. And what's your preferred method of contact if someone wants to get in touch with you?
Go to my website, univium.com/contact, and just fill out the contact form. Let us know how we can help. We'll get back to you in 24 hours.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I appreciate you, Patrick, taking the time to come on. Look forward
Absolutely.
to hopefully collaborating on some stuff in the future. And best of luck with everything.
Absolutely. I appreciate you bringing me on, Chris. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for listening. My name is Chris Kiefer, and my mission is to champion the relentless pursuit of purpose. And what that means to me is to be an example, a champion, someone that is in the trenches, working and showing and winning and trying and failing in how to pursue a deeper and more meaningful life with the people that I love, with my kids, with my friends, with our family, and also just be a champion and example of entrepreneurship and following my passion and doing what I believe I'm called to on this earth. And so if that inspires you in some way, please share this episode. If you want, like, subscribe, share, whatever, do all the stuff. It means the world to me to get this message and get these guests that I have out there. And if you're interested in any of the book recommendations or looking up other episodes, the movie list, You can visit my website, chriskiefer.com, for all the details on the show, and also check out the Boolean review software, as well as the Boolean automation consulting company that I own for home service businesses. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.